You are live. Welcome to Fire Away. You are live.
Got it.
Welcome to Fire Away, Seriously Funny Conversations, the podcast where we catch up on things that make us laugh and things that make us humanity. We are Matt Bays and Leslie Robbins, and today we are going to talk about
Gym class heroes.
Gym class heroes.
The first time Matt saw a boob.
This one is messed up. This one, I mean, we just came out of Homeward last week. Laura Perry's beautiful story. And here we are just
rapping all over it. The story of Rebecca at 102.9. Kick.
Jello shots with Mrs. Poor. The Royals.
Narcissists. Are you one? You'll never be royal.
La, 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 la. Who sang that song?
Lorde. That was the name.
Oh, I thought you were like, Lord, I don't know.
No, Lorde, honey. I don't know. No, it was Lorde.
Here's how it goes. Leslie texts me and says, what should we talk about? What topics do you want to cover? Is what you actually said. Mm-hmm. And I wrote exactly social media, retirement, college friendships, our first cars, Mrs. Poor, backyard football, my bad back, senior pictures, how our animals went for a ride, Cedar Point, and the first time I saw a boob in real life.
And I responded, I wrote down the Queen died.
Of course.
That's it. That's all I had. You're like,
this is what we should start with.
Yes.
So you're like coming in ready.
Like I had one thing to talk about.
We've always thought that this podcast was the death undercurrent that is flowing through every episode was something that we had agreed upon. But I think it's something that you continually suggest and that I go along with.
Clearly, I bring the dark.
Let's talk about your hair.
Okay.
And your makeup, your brows, everything looks really nice right now. And it feels sort of fall.
Yes. I worked a full day of work today. It is in the evening now. So I came home and I washed my face and I put makeup back on. I reapplied.
You did. Yeah. And your hair is, did you get it low lighted?
So I got all of the bottom length cut off because it was like straw, basically, because it was highlighted and old. So I had that all cut off and I was just going to have my hair touched up, the gray. But my girl, Lindsay, who I've gone to for like 15 years, she was like, we're going to add a little warmth to that. And I was like, do it. And
tell me about your brows.
My brows, first of all, if you look too close, they're crooked.
I can't tell that they're crooked.
I once waxed my entire eyebrow off on accident. So it's a recovery process that I've had to deal with. But I use the e.l.f. eyebrow pencil, and it's like $3.
From like Walgreens?
From e.l.f. It's the cheapest brand possible. It's my favorite. I've used it for years. It's the only kind I'll use.
What color?
The medium brown.
Medium brown.
Mm-hmm.
You said it's not morning. So I'm just going to add that it's 6:25 p.m. at night because we have a sparkler, Tanya, who hates when people say that.
Yes.
I got up at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. I think she meant if you said a.m., we don't need the in the morning because we're not stupid.
It's assumed. It's already known.
I like that we have sparklers who are every bit as over shit as we are.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. And they get us. They understand.
They yes, they do. So did you get that? Look at your face. You were about to say something, weren't you?
I was about to say, I don't think you're over anything. You're not mean about anything. I'm the mean one.
See, this is the funny thing. Nobody probably thinks Chris is mean about anything either. Mm-hmm. And he is. He is. He is a Enneagram 7 with an 8 wing.
Yes.
And we know 8s, they are information first, your feelings second.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and he has a little bit of that in him. You don't see it very often, but when I do, I'm always like, I'm glad I don't have to be the mean one all the time. Because in our relationship, I would be the mean one.
If Chris was mean to me, I would sob my eyes out because he's so nice. You know what I mean? Like if he ever got like, if I was his kid and he was like, go upstairs, I'd be like, you hate me forever.
He'd never do it.
Yeah.
Like I've just watched it. He's probably one of the most reasonable people I've ever met. He is just reasonable. Yeah.
So if he's like ever mean, it's got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be
I
bad.
saw him get bugged at me one time. Well, I've seen it a couple times, to be fair. But just a couple. That's it. In almost 2 years now. And I'm annoying. So it's kind of surprising that it's only been
once or twice.
2 or 3 times. But one time I specifically remember because I think it was the first time. And he was working a lot. And he just had some stuff going on, and it was just hours and hours. And it was something that needed to be done. And we thought it was going to be for a short amount of time. And it seemed like it was going longer. So I was going to inquire about how long it was going to be. So I did. And upon my inquiry, I could see it. I'm a feeler, so I can feel it even when somebody doesn't mean to. And I saw it in his face, everything, because he was in the middle of something. But at that point, he was never not in the middle of something. And he just kind of backed away from his computer, and he just kind of looked at me, and his lips got kind of tight, like a little bit. And he just went, can you just give me a few minutes to think about that before I respond? And I said, absolutely. Sure thing. And then we had a little quiet dinner. There was a little bit of a quiet dinner, which I'm fine with those things because I'm 51 years old. So I've gotten used to that sort of thing. So it was a little bit of a quiet dinner. And then at the end of dinner, I think he kissed me on the cheek, and we cleaned up together and did dishes. And then we had a nice little comfortable, calm talk. Nobody was exasperated or anything. And I'm like, I love this. Oh my gosh, this is one of those stories. I'm not going to say who. I'm not saying first or last name, but it is at the ready in my head right now.
I'm sure nobody doubts.
This is 5th grade. The lunchroom was the gym room, right?
Right.
Cafeteria was the gym room. Well, lunch was in the middle of the day. Last lunch class gets out, mop the floor, bring in gym class, right? Which is us. We come in, and it's obstacle course, which I love. Love the obstacle, hopping over shit, running through tires, ducking under stuff, right? Honey, I don't know if you remember the pants when they first came out, they were like cotton, and they were like navy. They had one back pocket with a snap, and they had one line of piping down the side that was like tan. And then they started coming out where they'd be white with blue piping or with red piping, or these were navy blue with khaki colored piping down the side, just one little thin line on this girl. Okay. She's running the obstacle course. She is fast. She round the corner, and there's still water on the ground. She was running, got around the corner, and her feet went out from underneath her. And I mean, this girl is hauling. She's moving, and she just goes boom, and right to her. It's like a springboard right to her feet. So she hits boom, and is up on her feet, and immediately backs to the wall. We're all like, oh my gosh, but I have this problem where I can't stop laughing. At stuff that's why I love kids getting hurt. I can't.
I know.
It's wrong. Thank you, mother. She gave it to me. She backs up to the wall and is just standing there. And we're all like, is she okay? Is Leslie? She does this little side thing against the wall, all the way across the wall until the door, turns around to walk it. And there is shit.
No.
All down her pant leg, where it had gone through the pants. So when she hit, explosion. Yes. And it was tan, you could see it, all of it. I can't see it. Well, you could see it. I mean, and when she turned around, I was like laughing. And when she turned around and walked out, I was like, and then I was not laughing. I was
no. Why do the funniest things happen to you? Like, you have the story.
That happened to her.
You witnessed it.
Listen, she was going to win it for our team. That's for sure. But when she hit the deck, I mean, her insides
came out.
They sure did. I don't remember her being teased for that, though.
I was about to say.
Interesting to have her on Fire Away. And
for this exact purpose. How old are you in fifth grade? I mean,
fifth grade, 11. Yeah.
1981.
So I'm wondering if she like got teased about that, like through high school, or I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Or
it was unfortunate.
There was a girl in my high school gym class. She was mean as a snake. Okay? Mean. Not nice. She was mean to people. And she was legally blind. She had like what is it called? The stick that what do they call that? A cane is what they had. And we had to run a mile around the football field. And they made that girl run around our football field on the track. So she had to hold on to somebody. And I just remember my little chubby self running myself going, like, why didn't she get a free pass at this? She can't even see. I never understood.
Run her mile?
She did. And a little guy helped her run, like walked with her.
How was she mean? What'd she do?
She just said mean things. She was very short to people. She was just not nice. It was ugly.
You went after the special needs.
Well, my point was, hey, can the girl not run a mile around the track? She can't see. You're going to cut every bit of that
out. I'm just thinking about that lady who quit because she thought the inappropriate dead lady was a...
Yeah.
Oh,
Lord. Okay. Anyway, moving right along. We used to also do country line dancing in gym class. Did you ever do that?
Girl, I had to sit on a carpet square because it was against my religion.
No, Matt.
Swear to God. We did square dancing, and I had to tell Mrs. Lawrence that it was against my religion. And here's the thing. Oh, I was proud, girl. I'm standing up for my beliefs in Jesus. And I did. I said, it's against my religion. And she said, get a carpet square. That's what you had to do if you were bad.
And you just sat there, proud as punch.
Oh, I sat on that carpet square. I was a martyr for Jesus. Look at me. Would you look at me? All these people, all these hooligans are going to hell for square dancing. My ass is going to be in heaven. I'm going to ride this carpet square all the way to glory.
You whipped out your Bible. So, like, when did you come out of that belief? Like,
so my sister went to prom, and she had to promise that she wouldn't dance.
Okay.
Oh, 100%. Because the next day when I was like, how was it? She was like, I danced my butt off. And I was like, oh, you are everything. We would dance in her room. We did this little 2-step disco hustle from the 80s and the 70s that she did. And I thought she was so cool. But also there was a rumor in our family that went through the whole family where we're like, I'm not going to throw out the names again, Gay's family members, but where one of my cousins, like her mother walked in her room and she had on headphones and had her little Walkman and was listening to music and was dancing. And we were like, oh.
Oh my gosh. Crazy? That seems like so, I mean, I never lived through that part. Like, I never heard of that. It's only like my mom and dad would say, like, their youth group, they wouldn't be allowed to dance, swim together, like mixed bathing. But that seems like.
Well, I got asked about that when I was trying to be a pastor in Lexington for ordination.
Of course you did.
They asked me what I thought of mixed bathing. Leslie, I didn't know what they meant.
Really?
I was like, I thought they were talking about like a husband and wife showering together. I didn't know. I mean, mixed bathing. What's mixed bathing? And I was like, I'm fine with it. And they were like, so you think it's okay for boys to be in the pool with other girls in swimsuits? And I was also fine with it. Like, so I didn't get
That should have been your red flag. Like, what am I doing?
Then after that, my pastor, Steve, kept saying, you need to continue with the ordination process. You need to just go through the motions. And for some reason, I could not wrap my head around that stuff. And I was like, I don't want to be ordained by these yahoos. I don't want to. So I didn't.
Yeah.
I was never ordained. Never. Served as a pastor for 27 years and was never ordained. Licensed plenty of times, but never ordained.
I'm ordained by the universalchurch.com.
You are?
Yeah, I had to marry somebody, so I just went online and got the certificate.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there I am. If you all need me to marry you.
Leslie, I need you to tell me your favorite story about your sister, Rebecca.
Okay, this is good. My sister, Rebecca, is 3 years younger than me and the exact opposite in every single possible way. But we get along really well.
Yeah.
So when I was in 9th grade, the boy I had loved my whole life was starting to call me. And we would talk on the phone in my bedroom. And we would listen to Kick 102.9 country music. And so downstairs, my dad had a home office in our house, and he had a different telephone number.
You were one of those families.
We were one of those.
Additional line.
Yes. So one night, I'm sitting there talking to the biggest crush of my entire life, and we're listening to country music radio station, and they're doing requests. And all of a sudden, my sister comes on the line. Yes, this is Leslie, and I just want to request a song for beep. This song goes out to him. I've always liked you. And I'm like,
it's the boy. She requested and said it's for the boy?
Yes, and we're both listening to it.
What song?
I think it was I Swear by the moon and the stars in the sky. John Michael Montgomery. That was what my sister did to me. She was in the 6th grade.
They also had a pop version of that by All for One. Is that who it was?
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, that's only one story. That's just one.
That's funny that she did that.
Horrified. And she was just awkward in the 6th grade. Had all the balls in the world.
I mean, did this devolve into a talk with your parents and a?
No, my mom was laughing hysterically.
Did you and him stay together very long?
Lord, no. I mean, he wrote my name inside of his baseball hat.
Oh, shit. That's a Kentucky version of wearing a class ring, isn't it?
I mean, we may as well have gotten married.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
I think it lasted until the end of the school year, and that was it. But whatever.
I bet Duran was pissed when he saw that baseball hat.
I guarantee Duran had it. He didn't give a crap. Well, tell us a story.
Let's see. Let's pick one from the list. There was a lady named Mrs. Poor. She was not poor. She was the richest lady on the whole street.
Oh.
And she was mentally ill. So I loved her. Loved her very much. But there was like this whole rumor that her husband had died in a car wreck and that we lived on a ravine. So it sounds real fancy. It's not, but there was a ravine by our house that went down to Black River in Ohio near Cleveland. And there was a rumor that he drove his car like he was drunk, and he drove his car through the garage and it ended up in the ravine, blah, blah, blah. Right. Nobody ever wanted to talk to Miss Poor because apparently, people would say she's crazy, all this kind of stuff. Well, when you're little, you know how those stories are so big, such a big deal. So I was looking to make some money one summer, and every time I drove past her house, I didn't drive, walked, rode my bike, whatever. Her grass was super long. And she had a big front yard. And I thought, I'm going to go see if she'll let me mow her yard. So I see her out there fussing around in her flower beds one day. And I walk up to her. First thing I notice is she has like pink lipstick, and it's just everywhere around her mouth, on her teeth. And she's wearing bowling shoes with the numbers on the back, right? Called them her gardening shoes.
Well,
turns out there were issues, mental issues there. Sweet as pie. She was about 4'0", probably weighed 90 pounds, jet black dyed hair, and just this big grin. And I loved her. So she said, yes, will you take $10? And I said, sure. Because I was like, hell yes, $10. Back then we mowed them for $5, but her yard was big. What I didn't know was that this whole empty lot next to her, she owned, and I had to mow that too. So it was 2 days of mowing. So we ended up getting to know this lady and helping her out. Well, Leslie, she had this pill dispenser in her house. Like it was this big wooden box, and it was in her basement. And in her basement, she had a bowling lane. Like she was wealthy, all these pinball machines and arcade games, all this stuff. And everything was decorated like 60s mod, you know?
Yeah.
And she waited on those pills to dispense. Whatever the pills came out, she was supposed to take them. I swear to God, at the end of the day, my brother fed her like the leather top off of a pool stick because she was convinced that she hadn't taken her medicine and was losing her mind. And so he gave her that. I don't even know how she swallowed that thing down, but she did. And she immediately felt better. Well, works for us.
Yeah.
Anyway, she ended up going away for a while, and her son asked if we would watch her house while she was gone. We're like, okay, until he gets it sold or whatever. Well, we were down there every day. We went down there to play. Yeah. We had full access to that house. We wore her fur coats around the house. I mean, we were 12.
Right.
We were in charge of that house. We were 12 years old. We made Jell-O all the time.
Yes. This is in your book. Yes.
It was just, she was so sweet though. And he told us, I will remember you at Christmas. Those were his exact words. For all that you've done and for doing this, I will remember you at Christmas. Girlfriend, that Christmas card came and I was ready. Opened it, waiting for the check to fall out or money to fall out or something. Nothing. Merry Christmas. That's it. Maybe it's because we ate all our Jell-O. We did parade ourselves. And she didn't just have the fur coat. She had the muffs for your hands and those big, like Russian looking fur hats. We were like running around the house. It was just so fun.
This is the height of luxury.
Yeah. Mrs. Poor. She was so sweet. I loved her, but she'd flip out. Oh, and we did go down in the ravine searching for Mr. Poor's car.
Good.
There was a car down there. Old rusted out car. So I don't know which came first, if somebody saw the car and then they made up the story, or if this actually happened. But we found something. We swore it was a knee bone. Who knows what it was? But we were like convinced. I mean, this is like Stand By Me shit, right? Have you seen that movie?
Yes.
Yes. Totally coming of age. Like, so we were going down there after that all the time looking for Mr. Poor's bones. Like he would rack down there and they would just leave his body to rot.
And every time you eat Jell-O now, you think of Mrs. Poor. And you guys were just like making it and put it in a bowl and put it in the fridge and come back the next day. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. That's exactly what we did.
It wasn't like in the Jell-O cups that you buy and throw them away. You guys were like...
We were putting them in bowls, mixing it up and then putting it in the refrigerator.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. She had so many Jell-O packets. Those old, like, Jell-O brand Jell-O. Jell-O brand gelatin. Remember that?
And this episode is brought to you by Jell-O.
See it whimmer, watch it glimmer, cool and fruity, Jell-O brand gelatin. Dun, 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 dun. Make it fun, it'll make you smile with Jell-O brand gelatin and make some fun. Wasn't that funny, Mrs. Poor?
Yeah. I think you could make a whole character about her. Have you ever thought about taking like a writing class from Second City? It's like $250. You could do it.
No.
And you write about Mrs. Poor and you create a whole story about her.
Yeah.
It's really fun. I did it. It was really fun.
You did it?
Yeah.
What was your story about?
I'm all tiny.
Oh, of course.
I had a guy today ask if I wanted to see a picture of his hemorrhoids. And I just said, you know what? I haven't eaten yet. So no thanks.
Here's a question. Why aren't they called asteroids? It just seems like it'd make more sense.
I know, that would be. Do you know, Mammal Tiny called them piles.
Piles. Piles is something else, isn't it?
Not that I know of.
There's a disease, something, whatever, called piles. It was in a movie. That's what I know.
Google it.
Somebody
Pretty sure
it's in a movie where they say somebody had piles.
It's hemorrhoids. That's what it is.
It is?
Yes.
Piles is hemorrhoids?
Yes. It's old school.
I know somebody had hemorrhoid surgery and said it was worse than having babies.
Love how this episode has taken a turn.
And it was a woman, so I believe her.
Yeah, she would know. Okay, let's talk about the first time you saw a boob.
Oh, Lordy. Oh, God.
Was it sweet coming of age moment?
I was a senior.
In high school?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Does that seem too old or too young?
I don't know. I feel like at some point you would have come across a boob before then.
I may have come across it on a TV show or something like that. I'm sure I have, but I'm talking in like real life.
Oh, like this is real.
Yes, okay. I'm in a makeout session and I'm about to,
yes,
I was a senior and all my friends had had sex and I hadn't.
And you're like, I gotta
But of course I said I had with a girl, but she went to another school.
Of course, that's great. Yeah.
But I will tell you, it didn't do anything for me. And
it was your journal. In your journal.
Oh, that was in Germany when I saw boobs.
Oh, okay.
We were walking through this park and it was in Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
And all these ladies were laying out topless and it was a male chorus. So all the male chorus guys are walking through there. Everybody's like staring and like, oh my God, like jackpot. Mm-hmm. We hit the jackpot. And I actually talked about that in my journal entry that night and said, I think all the guys were excited. It really didn't do that much for me. Actually wrote that down and wasn't aware of why that was. Mm-hmm. Just literally wrote, it didn't really do that much for me. Yeah. Because I was gay, baby. Of course it didn't do anything to you. It did my senior year in high school when I got that one out either. I got it out and I was like, and scene, put it back.
Right.
But then, of course, I was like, I couldn't wait to brag about it. Well, because they were all bragging about stuff. And I was
they were.
Brag too.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you saw a peener in real life?
I actually have never seen one. To this day, Dad, I know you're watching. I've never seen one in my life.
Never. You got 3 kids.
My wedding night is the first time ever saw one.
Shut up.
No, I'm kidding, but I'm not going to talk about it because my father listens to this. So it was on my wedding night. We prayed first, had a devotional, then that's when I saw it.
Of course. Do you remember the first time you did, though? I'm not going to ask you when.
Yeah, and I've talked to my friends about this as well. What is this? It's no big deal. But I'm not gay, so I'll just tell you. Like it wasn't personal to that person. It was just in general.
Like, what is this little hunk of flesh?
Right. Like, who cares? I was just like, great. Awesome.
Look what you
got.
Good
job. You did it. I mean, there's this episode of New Girl and she's talking about this guy's penis and she says, it's stately. She talks about it like she didn't know how to describe it. She's like, it's stately. It's great. I was like, stately. That's such a funny word to say to describe it.
Let's see. What else can we talk about that we are going to have to cut out of here?
I have a qualm.
Ooh, tell me.
And my qualm is probably going to bore you, but I just want to say it because somebody listening might enjoy my qualm. Okay, so the Queen died. God rest her soul. she died a very old lady. She was probably ready to go. She had a great life. Mm-hmm. Rest in peace. And we all knew Charles was going to be becoming king. It's his birthright. It happens. Okay. Not a surprise. But here's my thing. Harry, his son, and Meghan Markle gave up their titles-ish. They were not working royals and moved to California. And then Meghan Markle told it all to Oprah, exposed the royals for whatever they are. Fine. Then Harry's writing a book about them, exposing it all. Like they are going rogue with the royals. And she has a new podcast and she's just telling it all. She will not let it go. She's continuing to talk about it. And fine, if that's what she wants to do, great. They go over for the Queen's funeral and they're all upset because they're not being included in all the things. And I'm like, let's take a break here. You really think you're going to be after what you're doing to them? You just want them to all no big deal. You're just dragging our name and slandering us and writing books and profiting over all of this. And you chose this and you're dogging them and they're not going to be excited to see you.
How old are they?
Meghan Markle is my exact age, 41 years old. And Harry is 38.
Old enough to know better.
Yeah.
And so where is the information coming from that says that they're nobody's including us?
It's all over the news.
But are they saying that?
No, they aren't saying anything. But you can just tell they're not speaking to each other. You watched it on the funeral. It's very awkward. It's very tense. At the end, they got in the car and no one spoke to them. They just got in and no one said goodbye. No one hugged them, nothing. It was just at one point, Harry turned his head and made eye contact with one of his cousin's husbands. And they just looked at each other and he just got in his car. It was so awkward. But though I think he should have been at the funeral, he can't expect everybody to be thrilled to see him and all of a sudden want to embrace Meghan to come see the Queen on her deathbed. That's not going to happen. I don't understand why they think that would.
This is a bigger issue, right? This actually points to something that's somewhat meaningful in that be careful because children go through these things. I had the opportunity to do this too with my background where there were things that I didn't like. I had an opportunity to burn bridges. I could have done that. But here's what I've learned mostly from recovery is you don't have to be best friends with these people. You don't have to have an intimate relationship at a level that is not comfortable for you. But you also do not need to completely cut somebody out of your life, talk about them nasty, in public or on podcast or whatever it might be. You have to be careful of that kind of stuff because once it's out there, you can't take it back in part. But also, it seems that this is a thing that has become more and more of an issue in our world over the last decade or so, where kids want to label everyone. So there's no more, I broke up with this guy because he's an asshole. Instead, I broke up with this guy because he's a narcissist. Or, I can't work with this guy who's my boss because he's a sociopath. All of these labels are dangerous because you're not a professional therapist.
No.
Let's say somebody's really, really selfish. Okay. Maybe they're just an asshole. Maybe they're not a narcissist, you know? And so you start throwing around words like that. And then what you're going to get is people or Google telling you, cut them off, cut them out of your life. They're toxic. You don't have to be best friends with them, but you can come to terms with, here's the level of relationship that I want to have with them. It bothers me for the royal family, and it bothers me too for Harry and Meghan Markle. It bothers me for her because as a coach, I would say, once you put this stuff out there, you can't take it back. Be real careful about this. You don't have to expose this family. What do you think is in it for you? And
I think too, if you do decide to get out there and tell your story, you get one shot at it. You don't need to keep on it and keep on it and keep talking about it. you've told your story. We all heard it. Oprah interviewed you. That's plenty enough. We got it. I always wonder what you think about this. When people say, I'm talking about my truth. When somebody says, I'm talking about my truth, does that mean it's the truth or it's your version of the truth? Like, I don't get that.
Well,
that
any
phrase.
of these things like that can be used as weaponry. I think the original thing is, and it's true that there's a quote about siblings rarely grow up under the same roof.
Yeah.
And that's true. Like, you might tell a story, and your sister might be like, I don't remember it that way, kind of thing. And where it gets difficult is when we're talking about stories that may have felt dysfunctional to us. So we're all wired different ways. I'm a very sensitive person, and so I may have interpreted some of those events another way. And so I think it's fair to say, this is my truth. So the labeling thing, I think, is a real important thing, because anymore, everybody's an armchair psychologist. Just because you're mad at somebody, and I get it, you get to be mad and you get to say what you did really hurt me, but you don't have to go to that place where you start labeling people. I think it's dangerous, and it's a slippery slope into you doing that with many people. And I'm sure a lot of people are listening and they're either like, yep, I've been called it by my parents too, but I've never called my mom something like that. God, I didn't call my dad, that. And I had a real rocky relationship with him. The truth is, I think he was doing his best, and he was no sort of dad to me. He just wasn't. But it's okay. He was doing his best with the tools that he had. And I just think that we need to go down that path a little bit more. Like the royals. I mean, Queen Elizabeth, when did she grow up? Do you know what I'm saying? And the pressure of her becoming the queen at, was it 27?
Yeah. So 25, I think, is how old she was when her dad died.
Yeah. And I'm not saying nobody did anything wrong. I'm sure plenty of people, we're all humans, and you're going to do wrong things too.
Yes. Yes.
And hopefully at some point, if this comes back around for them, their family above them that's pissed off at them now, at Harry and Meghan, will say, that was a lot for them to grow up, under all of this pressure, and they were doing their best. I just think everybody's got to give people a pass. And it doesn't mean you have to have a relationship with them.
No.
But people need a pass. We all need one.
When you have to keep talking about it, to me, it's your problem at some point. I mean, props to the royals for not addressing it. Like, they don't play with it. They don't try to defend themselves. They stay pretty silent. And I think we both can say we've been on the end of really wanting to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
And you want to stand up and go, yes. And also, and so I think it's a sign of maturity when you can just go,
Where you can just say, okay, it's where they are. There's nothing I can do about it.
I heard once, silence is never misquoted. I think about that all the time.
That's awesome. That girl that crapped her pants, she was a narcissist.
Yes. She couldn't stick it out win the game. She was all about herself. She had to inch herself out.
Or at least a poops assist. That girl was a sociocrat. That's it for us today on Fire Away. We'll be back with more seriously funny conversations next week. Don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/podcast Fireaway, and on Instagram at Fireaway_podcast, and watch us via video on our YouTube channel. And fire this podcast off to a few friends and family.
Fire away.
Fire away. Fire away, everybody.
Fire away.
Just go ahead and fire away.
Just do it. Just do it.